All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Closed Traffic Podcast episode. And my co-host told me what episode it was, and I completely forgot literally 10
I
seconds
think,
ago.
man. I think it's like 21, bro.
But
21.
we'll go with 21. Episode 21 of the Closed Traffic Podcast. It is great to see each and every one of you here so far, at least today. Johnny, say hello to the people.
Hey guys, how's it going? Hope all is well. Happy holidays, everyone. It's like the end of the year already. It's just pure insanity, and it's like 9 degrees in here in Texas. So I don't know what's going on, man. How you been, Mike?
I've been good, man. You guys, actually, I feel like the entire country has had warmer weather than Southern California the last couple of days. I was in business I was in Kansas City actually for work, and it was like 65, 70 degrees last week. And here in LA, it was 50 and raining. So
What?
I don't know what the heck's going on, but
what's going on, man? Well, you know what? That's what you get, Mike. Because I'm gonna go ahead and say this, man. Because you always get the good weather. Dang it, you always get the good weather. And every time I'm trying to send it in the real world, I can't because my weather stinks. But you get the good weather. So now you know what? The tables have turned, my friend.
Tables have turned, I guess, man.
Hey, you said you were in Texas?
Yep. The old DF dub.
Okay, so I must have just missed you. I just came back from Texas last week.
Oh, wow.
Oh, man, too cool. Yeah,
I
man.
passed through DFW on my layover, and I just wasn't there long enough to steal some barbecue from Johnny, but it's all right.
Yeah, quote unquote steal barbecue. Yeah. Tell you, man.
Oh my gosh. Anyway, guys, we have obviously, if you guys can see, we have a guest on today. We have Colin. Colin from TFDi has joined us. Oh my gosh, I think we've been trying to get this going for quite some time now, and no fault to Colin. This was just us kind of lacking on our end for reaching out. But when we finally did reach out, we're slackers. What else is new? We finally did reach out. Colin was able to entertain us, man, and free up his very busy schedule to come on here to chat it up with us and answer some questions for you good folks out there. So I really appreciate it. Colin, say hello to the people.
Hello, everybody. I'm glad to be here. I thank you guys for having me on tonight.
Oh man, we appreciate you coming on. So we've got, man, obviously, a whole host of questions, especially as it relates to TFDi. As prominent as you guys are across the flight sim industry, the flight sim community, we could probably sit here all night and just go through questions and questions and questions. But I think obviously it goes without saying we should definitely start from the top. And, I think we all know the TFDi name, but probably not everyone knows, some of the faces behind TFDi, probably even including yours. So, Colin, you want to take a second or a couple of minutes to kind of just, tell the folks a little bit about yourself, your background, so on and so forth?
Oh, man, you're opening a can of worms. You want me to tell you about my background? All right. Well, I mean, all of us kind of got into this through the passion of aviation at some point. And, for me, I came from I grew up in the middle of nowhere in upstate New York. I don't live there anymore now, but I kind of got into flying games as a kid, and I think it was Aces High and Blazing Angels were like the first two, the old Wii game, right? Right, the old World War II. That's the first time as a kid I was ever exposed to aviation. Got real into that, and all of this kind of happened by accident. I was in the tech field on and off, but we started with. I tweaked things I didn't like. For me, I just wanted to, have a better experience on my computer. Tweaked them, got better at it. I kind of realized I liked the whole IT thing. Didn't really understand what that meant. I guess I was like 12 when I started a lot of that stuff.
Oh wow!
So I didn't really understand what I was getting into at the time. Moved to Florida, and then did some odds and ends IT stuff here, and went throughout the rest of my teenage years. And it kind of was one of those deals where I fell into programming because truthfully we needed a programmer and we couldn't afford one when you're 14, 15. Sure. You don't exactly have $25 an hour to tell somebody to do code. So I was like, I guess I'll learn. And I fell in love with it. And then I kind of just woke up one day. I'm like, this is a job now. I'm technically a professional programmer. And it kind of just, it all kind of fell in place. And I know a lot of us, we're here because of the passion in what we do, and whether it be aviation or technology or, just striving to swing at the fences. I think that's kind of what unites all of us. And it's what I know started it for me.
Gotcha. Absolutely. You mentioned like tinkering to try to get yourself a better, overall user experience. Mm-hmm. I think like Flight Sim is probably one of the very few communities where folks do that. Like,
and it's encouraged.
For sure.
And it's encouraged.
It's
exactly.
Not mods. It's, you don't get banned from the community for tweeting something. People encourage it. They're like, oh, cool, send it to me. I want to do it.
Yep. Yeah.
That's what it was. It was the old, the virtual cockpits back in like, we're talking like, what year is it now? Oh God, how old am I? 13. So 13 years ago, right? So we're talking, 2008, 2009. FSX was still new. Half the planes that were freeware didn't have the VC or anything.
No VC.
So I was like, hey, I Googled it. I figured out, I'm like, I can just edit this little CFG file. I can add a cockpit to it. I'm like, man, I thought I was a freaking rocket scientist getting that thing. And at 12, I'm like, man, I put a cockpit in this plane. It was, it's small work now, but right. I was really proud of that. I'm like, man, this is cool. I had something I didn't like, and I'm like, I'm just going to fix it. And then I released that, and oh man, the little kid in upstate New York, more people downloaded that mod pack than lived in the town that I was in.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah. So I was like, man, here I am in this little tiny town where I just gave something to, 10,000, 15,000 people. I'm like, man, that's it. I'm hooked.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I guess that's how it starts, man. And it's great because I think, especially when you think about some of the simulator platforms out there that allows us to do that, like X-Plane, you think about Ortho. Oh my goodness. I don't know where X-Plane would be, at least for me. I don't know, probably speaking for myself, but where X-Plane would be without Ortho, right? I think it's just, it just really adds to the overall immersion and level of experience, that you're able to get out of the sim. But, I think that's awesome, right? So that leads you obviously into probably, I'm sure you did a couple of things in between, but like, could you walk us through the evolution of TFDi and kind of how that came about?
Sure. So, I guess I'll spoil the name because technically we're Invernix is the actual company. Invernix owns the name TFDi Design.
Right.
So now I'll give away what TFDi finally stands for.
There we go.
It was, if you knew me back in the very beginning, my username is Turbofan Dude everywhere.
Yes,
that's right.
So back in the very, very beginning, I was like 9. I made this email because I was in the B-52, right? And B-52's got these big, 8 turbofan engines. So 9-year-old me goes, oh, I'm turbofandude@gmail.com. And I'm like, and now you know my email, but I'm sure it wasn't that hard to guess anyway. But, I have to edit that out, just like beep. Well, anyway, but no, I'm like, I'm gonna make this email, and then I mistakenly started Turbofan Dude International under that moniker, and it had some success, at least in the freeware market. And I'm like, man, that's it. We're Turbofan Dude International now. And the guy was running it with me, so I started it by myself as Turbofan Dude International. It was an old Wix website. It was real simple. Just released that little mod pack, and that gained some traction. And so people joined the team to help me just kind of manage and monitor. It was all volunteer, but at that time, again, it was free. And one of the guys on the team was like, man, we can't grow this as Turbofan Dude International. Like, we got to do better than that. And I was like, no, you're right. And he suggested TFDi. I was like, TFDi Design. That sounds good. It sounds a lot more professional. And it was definitely better than Turbofan Dude International and much less of a mouthful.
Right.
So that's that we went. Excuse me. So we went then from that little mod pack for the Southwest 737 pack we made. That was the start of it all.
Mm-hmm.
We went from that to a couple of iterations, all the way from just the initial zip file to like we made an actual installer, made a little page for it, and then said at some point, okay, well, we can do other things. We can create things, and we started small. Right. We're like, we're gonna make a sound pack. First thing we ever did. Made a 737 sound pack. I forget how we got it. Was just by chance I had happened to have linked up with somebody that had access to like raw sounds that we could use and offered them to us for something that was affordable for me at like 14 or whatever I was. And we did it and we put it together. It was pretty cool. I mean, it certainly doesn't compete with some of the things that are on the market now, but for what it was decent. And at the time period that it came out, it was decent. And that was the first time we'd ever sold anything. And that went really well because as we were all getting older now, you're talking 14, 15, some of us are starting to get jobs. We're starting to understand, that as much as we love doing this, it's hard to dedicate hours and hours and hours and hours for completely free.
Yep.
And it's hard to create the quality that we wanted for free. That's what it was. It wasn't just money seeking. It's that we want to be able to devote the time to this that we need to make these compelling products, and we couldn't. So we started with the sound pack. That went through a couple of iterations. At some point along the way, smart cars happened. Smart cars, the flight tracking platform for our
smart
VAs.
Cars. Oh my god!
For the win.
Then I'll touch on smart cars in a bit because
we got to go into that one a little
we
deeper.
Gotta hit that, sure.
But as it stands in the history, that one, fun part about that was actually a debt. We had promised to make a 737 simulation, a classic simulation, way back when, before we knew how to do that.
Right. Wow.
And it didn't happen. And at some point, we just had to accept it. Like, hey, look, we're not going to be able to do this right now, and we're not going to create vaporware. So we pulled it, but then we owed somebody because we had promised them a copy of it. We're like, well, what do we do now? And we're like, this was a friend of ours. He was running a VA, and we said, okay, look, well, we can't give you the plane, unfortunately, because that's not in the cards right now. Right. But we can make you a little tool to track some flights and whatnot. And he agreed. So we got to work on it. This was the first time I'd ever coded anything for the company. This was right around the time I was working for that computer store. I was learning a little bit more about IT in the professional world.
Sure.
So I was like, let's give it a try. And we created smart cars. And 2/3 of the way through it, we're like, dude, this is a product. This doesn't have to stop here. I'm like, and we went to the guy. We're like, okay, so we're gonna give you a copy of this for free, which is the same value that you were gonna get anyway.
Right.
We're gonna give you a copy, but you're gonna be our launch customer, basically. We're going to fly your flag on this thing. All of our screenshots are going to be in your VA, but we're going to launch this product on you. And that became Smart Cars 1. Wow. And that grew from that one VA to we have 1,100 or something now that have used it over the years. And that became Smart Cars 2, and it evolved. And somewhere along the way, so Smart Cars 2 was the next big one. That and the third iteration of our sound pack. We then made a version of our sound pack that actually had a gauge. It actually had custom coding in it to give you the extra flight attendant call and ground call sounds and some extra stuff. Just because that's what we like to do. We wanted to give it that extra mile.
Sure.
So we did that, and then Smart Cars 2 happened, and it was just kind of a reimagination of what it was, just better, more features, but it was still the same idea.
Right.
Somewhere along the way, somebody suggested to me, and I remember this being the most casual conversation ever. I'm walking around my house, had the wireless headset. I was doing something, and one of our guys was like, "Hey, man, you know what plane's never been made? The 717." And I'm like, huh. No, I guess you're right. It hasn't. And I looked it up. I'm like, damn, that's a pretty cool looking plane. I'm like, I had the same misconception that most people have that it was more in the 727 category with the older avionics. And when I looked it up, I'm like, no, it's not. It's full digital. It's glass.
Yep.
We're like, that's a pretty unique looking plane. I'm like, we can do that. And somehow we're like, you know what? We're going to swing for the fences here. I can code now. I guess I'll learn. I've made that little gauge for the sound pack. I'm like, we can do this. I'll figure it out. And we signed up for it. We worked with Milviz to help us get some of the modeling and whatnot done. Because again, the team of 3 or 4 of us that we had at the time, there's divide and conquer. So we did that. And then we eventually got it to the point that it was a plane. And we restarted it halfway through. Admittedly, we got some of the code written and we were like, this is awful. This is not right. It's not working well. And we scrapped the code, started over, did it 10 times better. We wrote all of our own tools to make the process faster. And it basically, at some point, we're like, that we have a plane, guys. And then this was the beginning of 2016. We're like, this is no longer an if. This is a when. We have sounds. We worked with TSS. TSS was on board. We had our modeling done. We were like, guys, this is happening. June of 2016 comes around. We're like, first public flight happens. We had 1,000 people watch us do this flight. I was floored. I'm like, that's it. It's happening. And I screwed myself and promised a 2016 release. And I am a man of my word. A little bit about me is I will never lie to anyone about anything at any time. That is my whole thing in life, not just at work. And I'm like, no, I'm a man of my word. I said 2016 release. So help me God, we are not going to go back on that. And we accomplished that in a way. But then we also learned about what happens when you rush. And we learned a lot about tunnel vision. We learned a lot about burnout and how that affects quality and commitment and motivation. And we learned a lot of things really fast. We learned how to be gracious losers. We learned how to take it in stride and turn downright hate and disrespect at some points into actionable items that we could use to improve.
For sure.
And the product, we went into basically a 2-year kind of shell after that, where this product that we thought was basically done then turned into a living nightmare for us for the year and a half after, where it just felt like every time we put out a fire, 2 more popped up.
For sure. Yeah,
and
I remember that.
And we dealt with it, and it became eventually an award-winning product. It became a Boeing officially licensed product. We got all those check marks checked, and it's now awesome. It's now where we want. It is now what we imagined when we started it.
Right.
Sure.
But we learned so much along that process that I think has made us able to do things that not everyone can say that they can do. So that one was a defining moment for us. And then along the way, the small things happened to be the biggest items for us. Along the way, we decided that FS Passengers was a tool we all loved flying.
Yeah.
And it didn't come to V4 ever. It never went 64-bit. And I, in a pit of maybe a little bit of cockiness, talking on Skype with one of our guys, was like, dude, I'll bet you I could whip something up in 24 hours. That'll at least play the sounds for you. And I did it. It. And the next day, I was like, here you go. And I sent him, it was called Mini FS Packs, this little tool I sent him. Okay. All it did is play the sounds. It gave us a little landing rate, or like a basic score if it was on time. It was not packs by any definition, but it was what I said. And just like with smart cars, we're like, we could make that a product. I mean, I already did half the work.
Sure.
Might as well finish it. And we're like, that'd be a cool break between, what we've been doing and because all that the heavy, modeling and all this really the realism focus and the manuals and the technical difficulty of the plane. We're like, it feels like it'd be a really nice thing to take a step back, have some creative freedom, do utility where we have a little bit of say of what done is. We don't have to follow a manual that tells us when it's done. We decide. And that was a really attractive option to us. We figured it'd be just this little side thing that, make a little bit of money, be fun, but ultimately it would fill the need in the market. That's what it was. We wanted
absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. And it outsold the 717.
Did it really?
Wow.
It did. It became we have something like 1/3 of a million flights in PAX now. It's like we did the math. It's like every 2 minutes a PAX flight lands now.
Holy smokes.
It's insane. So we're still working on that. We've got some. I'll touch on like product updates and everything later. We'll do a little. If you guys want, I'll give everybody the scoop
absolutely.
On that. But that one kind of led us down a weird path, and we also, the MD-11, kind of a similar concept here. There's a very blurry dog in the background. Sorry.
All right.
So the MD-11 seemed like an easy jump for us. We kind of did a bit of a poll with the community, and we're like, all right, well, we finished the 717. It's out of the way. What do we want to do? And we went, all right, MD-11. That seemed to be a popular vote. We already had a lot of the technology, and that kind of brings us to where we are now. And now we're getting close to that. We're almost to that point now of deciding, what's next, because our modelers are just about done with their work, and it's about time for us to start thinking about those future plans, which I know we'll talk about a little later on.
For sure.
That is
holy smokes.
That is awesome. I can tell you. It's certainly, PAX certainly filled a need, especially in the world of FS 2020. There really is virtually, at least when it first launched, and still has a way to go, but virtually no immersion in that sim. I will not do an airliner flight without PAX.
That's exactly what I like to hear.
I refuse to, because it just doesn't feel complete. Like
I'm
you
so
can't
glad
hear any passenger conversations or just the natural ambient sounds from simulating an airliner flight that you typically get. So it certainly filled a need, and it was very timely. So I appreciate you guys, having that foresight.
That's exactly what we'd hoped would happen. It would come in and fill that need. And
that was awesome. Let me see here, just some logistics. So hello all, Eastern Hops, Luke Scott, welcome. We've got on the other side here, Southpaw, welcome. Drew, welcome. We are actually running a giveaway. Johnny, it just dawned on me that we didn't set it up in both channels. So
seriously? Oh man. Yeah, see, this is how unorganized we are. I'm just go ahead and just put that out in the open now, my friend. So
they'll have to come over to the Mixed Salmon YouTube channel and type in TFDi to enter for their chance at a gift card. This is a holiday,
brother, from Street
yeah.
Yard,
Let me. I'll do that for sure.
And while you're doing that, I'm gonna, I'm gonna chime in on something, because I think we've all touched on this in the past, and and part of my hesitation about diving into an airliner in 2020 is the immersion isn't there just yet. And you and I've talked about this before, Mike, and it's not that it's not getting there. I mean, just to Colin's point, back in the FXX days, we all knew the struggle when that guy first dropped. you know. But now with the advent of GSX and et cetera, you find that to a certain extent, P3D felt like a more complete simulation in terms of airlines, or in terms of airline ops. But when I watch Mike send PackX, for example, on 2020, my lord, I mean, it opens doors in terms of the immersive experience that I haven't seen even in P3D.
Mm-hmm.
That means a lot to us. I know we really care if people are enjoying these products and if it's hitting the mark. So that means a lot to hear.
Yeah, it helps bring it all together. It truly does. So that's kind of the story behind, initially TFDi and definitely around smart cars. Like, so I could tell you when I first got into, because I haven't been flight simming long, like on and off, for years. But when I truly kind of dove into flight simming, one of the very first things I did, and I think this might have been 2015, 2016, was join a VA. And I was sending this VA thing like they were cutting me a check, right? And smart cars was such an essential component to it all because I loved being able to. You honestly felt like you were simulating the experience of being on the line for an airline. Like I was able to, you book your flights, you look at your landing rates, you book schedules, you could see at what everyone else is doing. Like it was so immersive and so. You felt like you were really part of an airline. You felt like you were really part of a community. So it is an exceptional product. I don't have the time too much these days. That's why I said to fly for VAs with everything going on in life. But it's crazy, man. It's awesome. There was actually a question about. We'll take that question later because I know we're going to go into some product updates. But just so you know, Colin, there was a question about when can we see Smart Cars 3. But
I'll be happy to dive into all of our current product updates. I'm not going to. We'll get there.
Cool. We'll go into that in a second. We could probably even segue, with this question. What are your thoughts? First of all, personally about FS 2020, and then also, professionally and from a development standpoint and opportunities wise. What are you thinking? How are you feeling?
So, have you ever gone to a steakhouse and ordered $100 steak, and it just gave you the meat on the plate, and you're like, I'm sure that would be a really good steak if you would just cook it.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's how I feel about MSFS. I feel like it has so much potential. The technological advancements that they've made with the scenery streaming, with the way that the overall interaction is, and the fact that it's on an Xbox, you got the ability to do a full flight on a console. Talk about accessibility. I mean, as developers, we should all be jumping for joy that our market is basically now millions. It's not tens of thousands. I mean, think about it, you're on the Xbox. How many people have Xboxes? Yep. Your potential market is massive, right? But it feels like certain elements were rushed, and it feels like it was made by a gaming company learning about simulators, not by a simulator company making it accessible.
Because way to describe it. Oh yeah.
Because from our side, when you look at the SDK, if you view the SDK through the lens of someone making a mod for a video game, if you compare it to the likes of Skyrim or Fallout, they have an impressive SDK when compared to Skyrim, Fallout, GTA, which doesn't even have a native SDK, right? So you've got this really robust system compared to that. But now when you compare it to a training platform, which is what some of these simulators have become, when you compare it to a platform that is known for mimicking real life down to the amount of time it takes a single switch to move. When you talk about that level of granularity and you look at the SDK that we have become accustomed to over the last 25 years now, it is miles short.
Wow.
And I can't fault them because I think it was a mindset thing. Sure. I think it was approached from the wrong angle. And I think there were probably technical limitations we don't know about with the Xbox and the Microsoft Store. And I'm sure there's security concerns there that we're not aware of, that they had to make some of those decisions. But I think that is its greatest weakness so far. That and just the overall polish. There's no one will argue that it lacked serious polish in the beginning. But that is unfortunately very common of a lot of releases these days. So that's not specifically an MSFS issue. That's more indicative of the state of the general gaming world at the moment. But
Right.
As far as it as a platform, I think it has the potential to be a replacement for the current ones, but not this season, not probably in the next year.
Yeah.
And that's not unless they overhaul a lot of that stuff. And it's going to take developers being able to get on board with it. I mean, truthfully, the reason that we have the market that we have is not just us, but there are so many fantastic developers in this community that have created I mean, how many people in this community at this point fly with only bone stock software? Few. I don't know any. I don't know of any that have no add-ons at all. So I think that is a big part of it. And until those developers are able to bring the compelling products, until they can sit there and imagine something absolutely amazing and not be held back by what the platform can and can't do, we're not going to see that new era yet. And we're starting to see it.
For sure.
Just like in FSX, we can do things now with FSX and P3D that were unimaginable when it came out, right? So, and it's as you learn the engine and as it matures, it will happen. So I think that there is possibility there, and that's why we're pushing for it as a product or as a platform that we want to support. But I know that at least out of the gate, I think we're going to struggle with certain features, and I think a lot of other developers, clearly, as we've seen from the turn of events that have happened in the last couple of weeks here, other developers, I think, are also going to struggle with some of these issues, at least for now.
For sure. And you hit the nail around the head.
Summarized it so well.
Oh Lord, yeah. We've been saying that for so long. I mean, ever since it dropped. I mean, I remember, when FSX dropped. I mean, it was like I said, it was a show as well. I mean, I remember
they always are.
They always are, right? But there's just so much potential in that platform. Like, for example, if I just throw up a GA aircraft or something like that, it's beautiful.
I literally flew up the highway next to my little suburb here and found my actual street.
Wow.
Precisely.
And I don't live in like an incorporated area in Tampa. Like, I'm in some random suburb. So the fact that my street, I mean, again, that's what I'm talking about. There's so many things that it does right. It's just held back. It's held back currently by some of the things that it has yet to really nail. But the word hopefully remains to be yet. Doesn't.
Do they, and when I say they, Microsoft and Asobo, I mean, they tell us, right, as the consumers, great things are coming and this and that. And, we're working with, developers such as yourselves to be able to add and continue to, enhance the overall add-on kind of experience as it relates to flight sim. And that's what they're telling us. Are you guys having separate conversations with them, I guess, quote unquote, virtually behind closed doors about really putting the tire here on the road and being able to get you guys what you need to be able to develop efficiency and timely, for what some of these consumers want? Or is it just really like a lot of, fluff, to be honest?
I have to be really careful with how I answer this too, because I can't speak for other developers. I can only speak for myself. I know that I've had the opportunity to sit virtually across the table from some of the decision makers, but I know that there are so many things that they must be dealing with right now too. And I know there is a general unrest among developers and a pressure that's being put on them. Not only from I would imagine it's deafeningly loud what they're hearing from the consumer side. But I know that there is pressure from the devs as well to correct some of these things. We have spoken with them. They're there, but it has been challenging at times to feel like we are having the communication that we need. But I'm also hesitant to point the finger, having been in the position of someone launching a less than stellar product out of the gate.
Right. Sure. No, fair enough. I just want to, I think the community, would kind of better be, be better, understanding and hopeful if we kind of hear from you all in terms of understanding whether or not those communication and those channels are actually open and you guys are, conversing and really, trying to get things straightened out. So I think that makes sense.
We want the communication, and I know at least for us, we do occasionally. They'll send us, the opportunity. They'll give us opportunities to have our voices heard in a format that is, manageable for them given the size of the sample. And I do my best whenever I get the opportunity. I forward my complaints and I make sure that my team is always telling me if they run into issues. Let me tell me, write it down. Let's make a note. And if we're gonna moan about it, we might as well at least be telling somebody that can do something about it. Yep. So I can only hope that those things. I know how it is. Customers have reported things to me that I fixed 3 months later. I know how it can be. Mm-hmm. So yep. I'm gonna try to give them some faith here. I know they have done a lot to it since the beginning. So we'll see.
I think all of us here on this call, can relate to that. Johnny being kind of a senior developer and working with software engineering on his side, me as a product manager working with a dev team and really trying to put product out there for our customers. There's a lot going on. So, we see the internal side for sure. Sometimes it's kind of hard to, take a step back and say, you're in these guys' shoes, for a living. So, cut them some slack. But
for sure.
I think that's great stuff there. Let me take a look, see what's going on in the chat. Maple, hello, welcome. Good to see you. Let's see. Dave, welcome. Good to see you.
Yeah, Dave, Maple, what's going on, brother?
Welcome, Maple. Kenny Wood, hello. Good to see you. What's that?
I would say that last criticism we just saw in the chat there is probably fair. That might be a better way of describing how some of the communication is felt. They hear us. They know that we have complaints, but it does feel sometimes that they have their own plan that they need to execute first before they're going to be able to do what we need them to do.
For sure.
And I would say it has felt like that at times.
Yep. No, sure. I think that makes sense. I mean, ultimately, we're talking about a very large organization in Microsoft. So, at the end of the day, they're going to do what they need to do. But I think that makes complete sense. Mr. Spur, hello, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, how's it going? Let's see here. Mr. Dave said, give him a shout out, and also just want to thank our Patreon backers. I guess thank you. For our commercials. I suppose I don't know, but anyway, thank you, Clarence. Mr. Clarence, definitely appreciate your support. Also, thank you, Mountain Man, aka Charlie. Thanks so much, my friend, and Ricky. I don't see him, man, but. You are, Ricky. Definitely appreciate your all support. But to segue back with you, Colin, and man, again, thank you for coming on and sharing your perspective on the state of things with 2020, and and as much as I find little things to nitpick on or little minute issues I find with 2020, there's still so much going forward. And I actually watched you guys' display on for Flight Sim Expo, and that MD-11. If you guys haven't had the opportunity, definitely swing by their website there. We'll drop it here in the chat. And check out their product review of the MD-11. Beautiful in the platform. And
it's going to be amazing, but working on it in that platform does make me want to bash my head into a table. But it's going to be worth it. It will be worth it.
It's going to be worth it for sure. I mean, there's just no doubt in my mind. Just to kind of, I felt a little nostalgic, guys. Not going to lie. I fired up the old 717 this morning and did a little trip in it, and just reminded me of, because even back then, when the airplane was released, I mean, there were things done that I've never seen.
I'm about to get into those in a
period. And even the sounds to this day, it's that the Rolls Royce kind of buzzsaw like sound just emanates, and it's just music to my ears. But I think with this new platform and the MD-11, I think it's definitely going to be fruitful for you guys. Was there any in terms of modeling? Did you guys feel more free from a developmental standpoint, in terms of modeling, or did it seem more convoluted than anything else, trying to navigate the ins and outs of that new platform?
Well, you see, we seem to like to make our lives as difficult as possible. And we chose to make a product that is close to unified platform for both P3D and MSFS. Mm-hmm. So we have to deal with the restrictions of both. So it's definitely there have been more considerations for us, but I think the general process, at least from an artwork standpoint, is very similar.
Sure.
So it hasn't added a whole lot of complexity yet. I'm sure I'll eat my words, but at the stage that we're at now, and we're just now getting to the point of like animating switches and linking up a lot of the stuff that you've been seeing us play with in the debug environment. So I suppose if we're going to run into those issues, we're going to start to see them in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah,
for sure.
I bet.
For sure.
Colin, walk us through True Glass, man.
Oh man,
how the heck did that come about? And especially being able to do that thing in such old ass, excuse my language, but old ass platforms. Like I can remember if it was FSI. I think at least P3D V3 had True Glass, right?
Was
that your first time introducing it?
I don't remember. I don't believe so. That was a VRAM thing, I think.
Okay, got it. Either way, still old, very old code to be introducing something so immersive. Walk us through that, man.
Oh man. So True Glass, I'm telling you, half of the stuff we do starts with "Tell me I can't," because we wanted to have that for such a long time, right? That's such a part of the weather experience. It always felt so unfulfilling. Flying through a storm, flying through snow, being in the foggy morning, and it's just crystal clear. It's like that vision impairment. Even if True Glass doesn't quite get it physically right, and I'll touch on that. Just having something there and like having a purpose in windshield wipers, like that would be so cool to do.
Yeah.
And we had actually tried it in FSX like a long time before. Okay. And it absolutely slaughtered the performance. Like we're talking 60 to like 15.
Wow.
We're like, there's no way. Like there was no chance in hell we can pull that off. Like we can optimize, but that we're not going to be able to take a 75% loss for rain. That's not going to happen. So it was funny because there's a picture somewhere of me, and I think it's in FSX of the 717 way early in dev with on the PFD with just raindrops on the PFD instead of the screen. Because we wanted to test the technology, and we went over the top. Like we used CUDA on the GPU to basically do like hardware accelerated. That's how it is now, actually.
Sure.
Okay.
We rewrote it. It's not CUDA anymore, but it's still hardware accelerated. And we did this whole it was overkill, but it was almost a case of just getting to kind of sharpen the blade, so to speak. And we went, oh, this would be amazing, but it's just we don't have the possibility to do it correctly right now, and we benched it. And then P3D V4 comes out, and we start becoming aware of the PDK. And the PDK, all of a sudden, so the biggest hang up for us up until that point was display rendering technology. And actually, it still is, even at MSFS. That's still actually the biggest thorn in my side is display technology. So the PDK comes out, and all of a sudden, I've learned to write shaders. I've learned to do graphics programming now, so I'm a little more comfortable with that. And Lockheed goes, hey, here's an ability to hook directly into the lower level of the drawing system in P3D and not deal with the old like FS90. This thing that we use to draw gauges now for like regular screens was made in like FS98. Like it's ancient. It was not built for any of the stuff that we're doing with it at this point. So now we get told, hey, there's this new system we can use and they improved it again in V4. It existed in V3, but not quite to the same level of granularity that we had in V4.
Sure.
So we said, okay, you know what? Let's try it. I was hesitant because we were in the middle of a bunch of other stuff, but I had push from the team to do it. And I gave it a try. And the initial feedback was positive. It worked. We're like, yeah, there's a slight performance impact, but it was like 5%. It wasn't like it was before. We're like, holy cow, we can do this. And then started the real work. Because then I remember sitting I had this old truck that I drove at the time. I remember sitting there at night in the truck, just like staring out the windshield. Like, how does that work? How to drive all the time, right? But how often are you watching an individual raindrop like rolling down your windshield, trying to figure out what its physical properties are?
That's true.
We had artists that were like trying to recreate this because the way rain works in real life is it refracts what's behind it. So you get, because if you ever looked at a raindrop, it's inverted. It's a like vertical mirror of whatever's behind it. So we didn't have the ability to do that even with the PDK. We tried that. And that one, we went right back to square one at the performance when we started doing that. So we're like, all right, we're going to have to figure out a way to fake it more or less. And same thing with like the raindrops. We can't do the type of thing where like, they blend into each other and become one big drop and all that. It's just, we did it very isolated. So that way it didn't murder the frame rate because we didn't want to make it any worse than it had to be. Sure. So we spent a lot of time at that point optimizing and pushing it. And eventually we settled on some behaviors that we like. Of course, after some silly bugs and things that didn't make sense. It eventually worked. We added fog to it after the release. We still wanted to add ice. We actually had one of our artists create the ice map for it.
Oh, wow.
But really? So we have that somewhere. If you wanted to, you could use the current stuff to add ice to it, or real light could actually do it too.
Okay.
If you were to kind of creatively imagine real light, you could definitely use ice. But we wanted to add that as the third part of it. We never really, it wasn't as big of a request from everybody. It was really the rain that people wanted. And then the fog was kind of just like a nice little plus one.
Yep.
Sure.
And now with MSFS, I don't know that there's really a reason to allocate a lot of time to that.
For that,
right.
Yeah,
at this
available
moment.
Default.
Native, yeah.
Right.
Natively,
True Glass isn't even necessary. Neither is real light in MSFS. Right. So I don't really know what, I mean, of course, we're going to continue to support it for all of our commercial customers that have purchased it. We'll make sure they always have one that works and whatever the sim is. But well, we'll see about that. But I know True Glass for us was definitely because we wanted to, and we didn't want to accept that, oh, it's just not possible. I'm like, no, it's not now, but it will be, and we will make it happen. And eventually it did.
Man, that thing was sweet. For some of you, or those of you that do not know what we're talking about, True Glass is the product in, because some of you X-Plane people are spoiled. That thing comes natively, if I'm not mistaken.
It does.
You get
easier to do,
yeah, exactly. For us FSX and P3D folks, there was no way to do that. That wasn't there by default or natively, and even a lot of aircrafts and add-ons didn't have that until these folks here, man, at Inverness TFDi was able to create True Glass. So that's what we're going on about. It really brings that total immersive experience together. And Colin, you hit the nail on the head. It sucked pouring rain outside,
crystal
clear, rolling
clear
down the runway at 150 miles an hour, and the freaking windshield is as clear as could be. So nothing happening. So it's Dave, I think Light Brain though was only what gave it a little bit of enhancement. I mean, P3D FSX had nothing.
It was just blank windscreen. There was no fog. There was no rain. There was no ice. There was nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing.
So,
and I will say, after True Glass came out, a couple of other companies came out and made their own contenders for it, and some of them have done elements of it better than we did.
Sure.
We chose to make it commercially available, and right after we finished it, we spent a lot of time making it really accessible and easy for everyone to use because we wanted to try to get it in as many planes as we could. And I think since then, I mean, there's definitely been some pretty solid contenders too, but it's nice to see that it's now a standard.
Right.
Exactly. And that's
you either make your own in
this community. Oh yeah.
You either make your own or you buy ours, but either way, most planes now it's kind of become a standard. And
for sure.
We're happy to have led that charge.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. That's what it's about in this community. Because at the end of the day, as you continue to kind of push the barriers or push the boundaries, us as consumers are going to want that and expect that from everyone else. That's why, like, when I hear some folks talk about, man, do we really need another A320? Let it come, because there are going to be folks out there that, each developer is going to have their own thing, right? To kind of push that boundary. And I think it really, allows for people to think outside of the box and really, continue to push that experience for us.
I'm going to intercept there for a minute, Mike. I'm sorry, Colin.
Here we go.
But you know what I'm about to say. So
I know,
man, LAX, bro. That's all I'm going to say. I know we got like.
I wasn't talking about scenery. I was talking about aircraft.
I know. I just want to put that out there. I'm saying, okay. I'm sorry. Colin. Continue.
Well, I'm conflicted on that, right? Because as a company, generally, I have always steered us away from redoing something somebody else has done. At least, when we first got into the community, there were plenty of things that had never been touched that it seemed almost wasteful for us to create the third 737 and then leave a whole section of airplanes untouched. And we've reached the point in the market now, I think, where as I've gotten older and we have seen more things, and as the company has evolved, I think that my opinion has changed slightly, and I now appreciate the value of competition.
Sure.
In a healthy way. Now, again, I don't believe in the underhanded slam marketing. I don't believe in the I'm just gonna beat you to the market to steal half your income. I don't do that. I don't mean like that. But I now understand that although it's not always pleasant, competing for a market does benefit the consumer. It keeps you sharp because you can't. It's easy to get lazy when you're the best in your market and no one's going to challenge you. It's easy to get lazy,
for sure.
And having a little bit of that pressure and knowing that nothing is guaranteed, you're not guaranteed to stay on top, I think is better for the consumer, and it's better for devs with respect to overall quality and output. Again, within reason. Now, when you're doing the fourth scenery for the same airport, ultimately it's up to a developer. It's up to a developer what they want to do, and I always appreciate anybody taking time to create something for this community. But I implore those developers, please. There are 26,000 some odd major airports in the world. There must be one. Same with the airplanes. Please don't make the fifth 737. I mean, unless you have some way that you and I'm not saying if you figured out some way to just absolutely crush it and make everything else on the market look simple, do it. By all means, do it. Because then the rest of us are going to have to figure it out and catch up, and everyone's going to benefit as a result. We're going to it's going to evolve. But
absolutely.
But don't make the fifth copy of the same thing. So I understand both sides of the table there, and
for sure.
I was very harsh on that for a long time. I was like, no, I will never redo somebody else's work. And now, with PAX, there was some competition to PAX. The MD11, of course, PMDG has done before. Now they've kind of given us their blessing. They've told us they are not going to compete with us on the MD11. But there's even the Rotate one for X-Plane.
Yeah, for
now I'm staying out of their way. I have no intention of going to X-Plane at this point.
Sure.
Just because that's a whole other can of worms, and I also have no reason to want to fight with them.
Sure.
Especially not on their home turf.
Yeah.
Not only is it just as people too. I know how I would feel in that position, and I don't think it's what I want to do right now.
Absolutely.
So we've been pretty clear about that, but I understand the value of having something on the market to kind of keep each other motivated to be the best that you can be. It isn't about beating your competition. It's about making sure you're doing the best that you can.
Right. Absolutely. And I mean, I think you really hit the nail on the head there because, again, I mean, if that, based on, your capacity as a developer, you might be, we may be able to do it, not sure, whatever. But hey, let's go and drop another 737. No, don't do that. Don't do that. And I was I like to quote someone, I'm not going to say names, but he's like the face PMDG, but he's always said it. But we love as consumers to see aircraft that we can always relate to. And I don't know about you guys, but I remember AirTrans 717s. FedEx, Castaway guys. I'm sorry, Castaway, right?
Yeah.
The MD11, and we all see those. Well, we can all relate to those 737s, A320, 21s. You name it. We can all relate to those. But and as I've gotten older, you kind of see that we've covered the market pretty well. We're starting to see new regional RJs emerge, coming out of the woodworks. I think FlyJSim just updated their Q400, got turboprops there. So, just from a consumer perspective, holistically speaking, I think the market's really healthy right now. It's just, again, the scenery, man, I love my scenery developers out there, but Lord have mercy. We're good on LEX. I'm just saying. All right. You got it, Mike. I'm done.
Don't get Johnny on his soapbox, man.
No, as we usher in a new era of developers too with MSFS, and as some of these products go stale, because I mean, even look at the 717, it's 5 years old. By the time if we were to start a redo of it now, by the time it hit the market, it would be 6 or 7 years old. Mm-hmm. So you want to talk about the place we were at in 2014 or 2015 when we started that versus where we'd be in 2023 when it would come out. Theoretically, if we were to do that.
Sure.
You're talking about a completely different technological landscape as far as expectations and of quality are concerned, and expectations of capability. It's not the same place. So
no,
it eventually we will redo that stuff, right? Someone, whether it be us or someone else in a couple of years, may make another 717.
Sure.
Someone may make a new, in 6-7 years. Someone may make another MD11, whatever it may be. And that's normal. They should, because there's no way that what we do today is still going to be king of the hill in 5-6 years. It shouldn't be. If it is, that means no one else is pushed.
For sure.
Yep. No, that makes sense. We had some other things on here. By the way, guys, again, enter exclamation TFDi for your chance at a holiday giveaway. We're giving away a gift card at the end here of the podcast. Those of you just joining, we are joined by Colin, head of Invernix, aka TFDi. And we're just really shooting the breeze, man. Really starting to understand kind of the inception and kind of the overall underpinnings and how TFDi was born. And we're now going to start to slowly transition here into the overall kind of roadmap and what's to come here for the company. But before I go into that, Colin, tell us a little bit on kind of like how you partner with, whether it's real world airlines or pilots to help influence the product that you guys are putting out there for the sim community?
I know a lot of what we do is done with insane amounts of reference and feedback from any real world sources we can get, whether it's sometimes something as small as we will just Google MD-11 cockpit and wait until we find a picture that happened to have caught what we want. We've had people take photos for us. We've had, mechanics answer questions and send us photos. We've had help from airlines in the past. We've had, pilots send us manuals or answer questions for us. We've had, of course, all kinds of things we've gotten over the years that we'll take anything we can, because something like this, you ask questions, sometimes even pilots scratch their heads. So we've been really lucky to get to work with, like I said, mechanics too, airlines, things like that. But it's not like you think it is. It isn't like we just go, hey Delta, hey KLM, how does this plane work?
Gotcha.
That's not at all how it is. It's when we kind of took a different approach. I would imagine that there are some developers in the industry that have those connections that do that.
Yeah.
Of course, we know people in, I would assume every walk of life at this point, based on where we're at. But we kind of always leaned on the fact that we are of the community for the community. So when we started the MD-11, we said, hey, everyone that knows anything about the MD-11, here's our Discord. Here's a form that you can send us information and make requests. And dear God, that form has got to be, I don't know how many responses it's had now, but we've got an entire folder full of like gigs of stuff. It's got to be at this point.
Wow.
That people have sent us photos, videos, information, little tidbits. They got in the Discord and were telling us, hey, the flaps droop this certain way when this certain thing is happening. And I remember seeing it on this. I'm like, man, I have learned information in passing that I didn't even know was something we had to consider. So I think we are kind of this product, both the 717 was this way too, and the MD-11 is kind of this community hive mind of realism and experience together that we are just steering at this point.
Right.
Wow. And you can tell it. You can tell it in the products. I mean, it's just, it speaks for itself. You can tell when a product was just rushed out just to make $1, but you can tell when a product was really made with, love and attention. And, you can definitely tell there's just little nuances to operating it. You're like, they've definitely reached out to someone, so that's really cool, Colin.
I know we have a habit, like I said, of making our lives harder than it needs to be sometimes, but I know we all like to swing for the fences, and we want to create something that is so unapologetically impressive that it doesn't need marketing.
No,
I know that's the goal when we set out for these things, which is why we said, what's better than 2 pilots? 2,000. And we ask anyone that can help us. We want to listen, because ultimately you're the ones that are going to be flying this thing. We're not making it for us. We're making it for everyone. So if we all work together to make it into what it is, we will deliver. And I'll segue a little bit into the products.
Sure.
If you
Yeah. Go ahead.
Absolutely.
I can tell you from working with the guys on this, just the type of work that I've done and the level of granularity I know I've done, and what I've seen Ricardo do and Ozzy and everyone on this team, it will make the 717 look like a Matchbox car.
Ooh.
Did
you guys hear that?
I'm talking about you can go into. Now we did announce the pricing model on one of our live streams. So I'll come back to that.
Sure.
But I know that one of the things you're going to be able to do with the MD-11 is purchase like a failures / like extended simulation pack, which will include kind of like an instructor panel, basically, where you can go in and, when I say granularity and depth, I'm talking about go in and fail display computer 2 and watch the center 2 screens red X until you reconfigure it. I'm talking about you can pull a breaker and kill one of your IRUs and see how that handles it, or kill one of your ADCs and see what data fails.
Wow.
I'm talking about the FMCs can crosstalk to each other. One fails and the other one has to sync back over when it comes on. We've built this stack of technology.
Incredible.
Where every single item in the airplane, I don't think we directly reference the simulator variables in more than one place ever. We have except for, I think, maybe the standby displays, maybe the exception. But we'll code, what we did is we'll say, okay, we're going to code the, we'll take the air data computer. Mm-hmm. We're going to code, we have a whole file that's literally called adc.cpp, I believe. That all it does is that reads the sim. And then that checks, do I have power? Have I failed? Am I providing the right data? If I have, okay, then it sends that back out to the rest of the systems. And everything else reads from that. So if you have, and then everything along the way. So the ADC has its own thing that can fail and checks for itself. Then you have, okay, well, I'm going to connect that to the display unit. Well, then the DEU that is connected to the ADC has its own unit that can fail. Okay, well, the DEU is working. Now we're going to talk about the actual screen. Okay, the screen itself can fail. The screen itself is on. Okay, that's good. Now, finally, it draws whatever the ADC said. So
that is a level of immersion that we don't see too often or at all today. And you guys are saying we're going to be able to see this in 2020.
Yes. So far, awesome. That type of stuff is already running. At Expo, when we did this, the same systems logic, the flight computer was running. The Magenta Line stuff is running. You just can't see it because it's all display. We have all the issues that we're having with 2020 at this point are display related. And it's been pretty severe in the amount of setback that it's given us. But thankfully, the part that really matters, the heart of the simulation, all those things seems to be working quite well and without serious effects to the performance. So the part that really matters is going to make it feel like a living, breathing machine. Seems like we're going to have no issue. It's just going to be a case of getting the colors and lines to show up on the little screens. Once we're done with that, then we're going to have I would like to think, a pretty impressive simulation. For sure. I know we swung for the fences with this one.
What's the first one? What's the first livery you flying, Johnny?
Well, guys,
what's the first one you ascended?
One word: Memphis.
Oh man, I'm telling you, I drive past the UPS one that they park at Tampa every time I go to the airport. I cannot wait. I'm doing some like 9-hour UPS haul with that thing out of Tampa. I will do it. Shared cockpit. We'll get like 4 of us in there. We'll hand it off halfway through. We'll do it right.
Sending it. Awesome. And that's another thing too, I mean, I got so excited, knocked my keyboard off, but even way back when, I think the 717 was probably one of the first aircraft that I noticed to have shared cockpit functionality.
It was one of the first to make it a real priority. Dude. It wasn't the first. I think the Airsoft Airbus had it, and I know the Leonardo MD-80, I believe, had it before us.
Really?
Okay.
But I know we were the first to make it a first-class citizen in the product.
Okay.
We were one of the first to design it kind of from the beginning with the ability to have a native shared cockpit experience where you just click and go. There was no make sure, if your second in command was not in the same configuration as you, the 717 just fixed it. It puts you wherever you're supposed to be. There is no, you have to click the same switch at the same time and like hope you connect in the same state. Your sim can crash, you reload it, reconnect, and it'll reset whoever reconnected to where they're supposed to be. We designed the whole thing specifically to allow that. Now we're going to try to do the same thing with the MD-11, but it's going to take it's a little more hands-on because of how we coded it, but we're still going to do
sure. For
sure. The MD-11, we want to make it even easier. We're trying to set up a system where you don't even have to set up port forwarding anymore. We're going to try to host physical servers. We've got the ability to do that. We've got enough resources on standby that we're going to set up some, as of now, the plan is to set up some servers that you basically, by buying the product, you also pay your due basically to have access to that server. So, you go and you want to click on shared cockpit, you and your friend both get a code, you join it, that's it. No port forwarding, no server. You can still host a server if you want. We're going to release the software.
Yeah.
But by default, it'll select ours, so it can just be easy. And because I know that's a big issue for support with shared cockpit. It's just taking someone who's maybe not as tech savvy and telling them, hey, you need to go to your firewall and open this port and set up this address. And it's like speaking another language to them. And I'm like, I just want to tell them, no, type your code in, you're good.
It's a bear to set up in
my Lord,
X-Plane, man. And unfortunately, that's part of the reason why we don't do it often enough. Like I think Johnny and I flew shared cockpit once. There's a couple people in this chat.
2 days to get together.
A shared cockpit thing with it's just a lot to do. It's hard to set up, man. And you got to be on the same version of aircraft and same version of this and version of that. So it takes some work.
It adds a lot of complexity.
Yeah, for sure. So that's the MD-11. I'm excited for that. And you can ask Johnny. I'm not really into those kind of, type of flight experiences. I'm a true Airbus guy, airliner guy, GA guy. I think I can count on one hand the amount of time I simulated cargo ops.
Likewise.
Maybe even 3 fingers.
I don't think I've ever seen you stream cargo ops.
I've never streamed it, one. And number 2, I think just sitting here and actually simulating it, I think once or twice. So this, though, is going to definitely get me thinking about doing it a lot more often. That's awesome. That's super cool. I'm excited.
It's definitely going to be some across the pond ops, man. Vatson better
get
ready.
Oh, my gosh.
Sure.
I can't wait.
Right? Oh, my gosh,
man.
To
see MD-11s across the board.
Oh my
man,
goodness.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, it's gonna be some folks in the payroll for sure, man, with these airlines.
UPS and FedEx gonna have to cut checks, man.
Man, line them up, man. Line them up.
Oh my god. And what was I don't know if that was ever published, and if it's not, feel free not to answer, Colin, but what was the timeline I think you all are projecting with it roughly?
I was gonna say, so as I talked about earlier, I made the mistake previously of putting the cart before the horse and signing up for something I didn't know I couldn't deliver on.
Got it.
I know that right now we are moving very, very fast on it, but I also know that products of this nature, sometimes the last 10% feels like it takes 90% of the time.
For sure.
Yeah.
So I think the path from where we are right now to a flyable, reasonably complete product is relatively short. The path from where we are right now to on sale, I can't say with confidence yet. What I can say is we're not talking 2024. We're not talking years down the line. I have a goal in mind that I think will impress everybody if we're able to hit it.
For sure.
Awesome.
And that's all I can say in it, because I don't, if I'm wrong, and I want to say this just again live here, I will hold the release for 6 months if I have to make sure that this product comes out the right way.
Absolutely.
I will not make that mistake twice. We want this product on day one to absolutely just drop your jaw to the floor. And we don't want any reservations, don't mind that, we're going to fix it. We're going to try we want to lead the charge on that one this time.
For sure.
And come out with something that is compelling and polished and thorough on day one. And we've already started plans for alternative methods of beta, for stages of betas and things. And we're not at beta yet, obviously, but
for sure.
But we've already got a roadmap in place for ways that and truthfully, we've even kicked around the idea of like a limited stock pre-sale that you voluntarily sign up for a beta that's like, a limited like 500 units, let's say, where you got to go through, 5 different levels of, yes, I know I'm buying a beta.
Yeah, exactly.
Because sample size matters, right? We noticed that with 717's community beta. We did run a beta on the 717, but it was way too short. So that was one issue. We were not going to make that mistake. But we also noticed that the sheer volume of people using the 717 in that community beta, although it was difficult to field at times, we just had constant feedback all the time. We knew immediately if we got it right or not. And that was absolutely invaluably helpful to us. So we're going to try to see if we can do that in a way where we're not taking advantage of anybody, but that we want to try to find a way to leverage that massive sample size in a meaningful way too. And that's what we've considered. So no, we are the release date is kind of a moving target for us right now, but it is closer than you might imagine given the way the last couple of dev previews look.
Sure. For sure.
Awesome.
Well, I can say for sure, man, you guys take your time. I know for sure it'll be worth it. You guys have our full support here at CTP. I'm sure the fans will, the listeners will agree as well. I'm just excited for it. I'm excited for all these new releases because this does nothing but, put, I guess, in a weird way, of pressure on the Sobo to continue to move their update process and, to continue to support and get that sim and that platform really ironed out to the point to where, it's like, man, I have no need for P3D anymore. I have no need for it.
I don't know that we'll ever get to that stage fully, though. Just because of P3D's place as a commercial platform.
Sure.
I don't think it'll ever go away entirely.
I can see that.
But what about for our like niche community? Do you think make it 10 years from now?
Sure. We still have people flying in FS 2004.
Yeah, that's true.
That's a good point.
That was 17 years ago. So
point.
There will always be diehards that have it the way they like it and they don't want to break it, and I understand that. So I guess at some point you look at P3D now, that's kind of like the majority of the market. I think we'll see the same thing eventually. It might take over. It's going to be up to Asobo, truly.
Sure.
It's up to Microsoft and Asobo. If they want that, it's possible. They just have to be willing to do the things that we need them to do to become that mainstream platform.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, from a commercial standpoint, P3D's not going nowhere for sure. I mean, I don't think Lockheed Martin's really too concerned about us as entertainment simmers, but it's really encouraging, just to see, the level of movement in 2020. I had me a little worried there on day one, not gonna lie, but
likewise.
I was like, oh my gosh.
I was at Expo when it happened. And somebody's like, dude, they announced a new sim. I'm like, what? Like, what do you mean? Oh man.
Yeah, it was. I was telling Mike, man. It just will be so because right now I'm running four sims,
4, dude,
including DCS. I'm saying Mike's.
But you got you're entertainers though. You have to.
Oh man,
yeah, we got to keep tabs on all that stuff.
That's what I'm saying, man.
We still do a poor job at it. If it's not for folks in here like Dave, we wouldn't know what the hell is going on across the community.
It's a big corral to watch.
It is. There's a lot going on, man. When you've got lots of things going on in life. But let me jump back in here. John, thanks for joining us, man. John is all the way out there in Ireland, so I know it's like very late. So appreciate you stopping by. Mrs. Spur says it's really nice that you stand behind your product like that, Colin. So awesome. Thank you, Mrs. Spur. Short and Final has a question. Curious to know if the MD11 will release for MSFS and P3D at the same time.
That's the goal.
Okay.
As of right now, we're doing everything we can. I would say 75% of the technology that we've developed has nothing to do with the platform it's in. We have written it in such a way that the part of it that cares that it's FSX or P3D, or I don't know that FSX is going to happen. That's not a plan at the moment, but the part of the code that cares if it's force of habit. Sorry. The part of the code that cares if it's P3D or MSFS is like 10% or less. And the vast majority of the airplane is written completely outside of any sim at all.
Okay.
So that gives us a really solid chance at getting a unified release. And we want that. We want them to come out equally as polished on day one for both platforms. That way you don't have to be forced either way. Pick your favorite, fit it into your life where it makes sense for you.
Right.
But I do know that we're going to encounter unique challenges on both fronts.
Sure.
So only time will tell, but I'm going to do my very best. And I know that I've pushed the team really hard to maintain as much uniform code bases and models and things as they can. We're working out of P3D just because I don't want them spending their time doing it twice while we're still debugging everything. But we have spent time, we've had the models in the sim. We've had switches click in the sim and make sure that they work with the screens. We've had a screen render in MSFS. We've done a lot of those things that we thought could hold us up. We've already tried. So we kind of know what the hassles are going to be and we can plan for that.
Sure.
And even our sounds, like same deal. We've worked out a deal with TSS now that he's doing the sounds for both MSFS and P3D.
Too cool.
Time. So the plan is to let them walk shoulder to shoulder, at least for the foreseeable future. So
too cool. And I would be that guy to somehow buy both. Don't ask me how.
I anticipate there being some type of upgrade price. You're not gonna have to buy it full price. I would imagine.
Sure. Too cool.
Gotcha. And then before I go to the next question, let me interject. So we actually are doing a second giveaway today as well. Colin has been gracious enough to offer up a copy of Pack X. So we will be
come see what all the hype's about.
Exactly. So we'll again, you'll be entering here. I can't edit kind of the title of the giveaway because then it's going to lose all of the entries, but
no, you're good.
You'll enter in and we'll run the first one and then we'll run the other one for Pack X. So definitely get in there and enter for your chance to win. There was another question. Oh yes, Dave. So Dave says, sorry, Mike and Johnny, I gotta ask Colin, when are you gonna make a GA aircraft for 2020? Jets ain't my thing.
Oh man, so that I've been pushed by members of our team before to just create something small, and I'm like, I'm not against it, but it just has never made sense. I think we could have a lot of fun with something small like that because we could you take the level of granularity that we put into the MD11 and put the same amount of effort into a GA plane, and we'll have something that you were assembling from a box by yourself. You'll be sitting there putting the pistons in the engine. So I think we can have a lot of fun because where we wouldn't be spending time on glass and autopilots and flight calculations, we could be spending on things and make it feel like an actual plane.
Sure.
So I'm not against it, but I know right now I don't think that GA specifically GA, I don't think has come up as one of the options. There's also so many on the market. You've got A2A, you got the high end stuff like A2A. Milviz creates some pretty solid works in that area.
Sure.
You've got the kind of more entry level stuff like some of the Coronado things that are out there. There's a lot of options. in the GA space already for kind of all levels of experience.
For sure.
So going back to what we talked about before, I am not going to fight A2A on something like the 172 or something like that.
Right.
A, I respect their work. B, I don't want to pick a fight that I'm not sure I can win. So it's respect first, but it's also
Absolutely.
a case of, they've done such an outstanding job that I don't know that I could do anything that would be worth it because they have such a solid product. And same with Milviz. I worked on some of their things over the years, and they've done some pretty solid things
really,
too.
really solid work.
So
for sure.
So GA, it's not to answer the question. When I don't know if we are, but I know that some non-glass airliners have certainly come up, and I've got a few that I'm kind of rooting for, but I also have a lot of people that I have to represent when I make those decisions.
Absolutely.
So I'm not gonna push my pipe dream of doing some Flying Wild Alaska plane. I'm talking about it.
Oh yeah, I definitely know where you're driving there. Yeah, and that's my thing, Colin. And I love, and I love how you brought, to everyone's attention the idea of respect, especially when you had, long time contenders in the game, A2A, for example, Milviz, they've been in the game for many years, and I think it's really cool that you're respecting their their position in the industry. And to be honest with you, it makes me want to support you guys that much more. Now, not saying that I was a complete nerd over the 717, but I think it's really cool that you're not completely ruling it out. Cough, business jets, cough. But
they have some pretty cool looking corporate jets these days, man.
Oh man,
I love the Phenom, that Flight One Phenom back in the day.
Yes.
Oh man, that was just such a fun little quirky plane.
It was, wasn't it?
It was so weird to fly. It chugged on my old machine. I could barely run it. And I'm like, I don't care. I love this thing. It's got all the little clicky things and the little chimes and sounds that I wanted from it. I'm like, oh man, It just scratched the itch. I don't know what it was.
Oh man, yeah, it was something about the airplane, man, that just hit just to hit those little small airports. I think it'd be, especially in 2020. Yeah. I think. If they ever brought that back to 20, oh my Lord, man.
I would dust off the flight controls that are somewhere up in the closet above me. I would dust them off for that, man. I'm gonna have to try some of these things. Some of these things that are coming out these days look really, really damn
amazing.
Good.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to try some of these.
Amazing. Cool. And that's the thing. I'm sorry. I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna shut up, Mike.
You're fine. You're fine. I'm just trying to get the people's questions answered, but you take over. Johnny.
For sure. No, I'm not. I'm not taking nothing. I'm just gonna intercept for a minute. So no, but I think that's where going back to 2020, that's where things really get cool, is the fact that going into these smaller airports, there's so much more detail out of the box than we've ever seen.
Yeah,
I think it's just begging, to get something, small and, whatever, in there. I think
they're very agile. Yeah,
for sure. Whether it be, like the Phenom or, what have you. And I know right now, we used to. Work's been just killing me here lately, but the CJ4, we used to send that from here to Albuquerque, Mike.
Oh my gosh, when 2020 first released, and the working title guys were like the first to start modding aircrafts along with fly-by-wire. Oh my god, I'd be an SCJ for all day. I'd be an SCJ for all day. But Kenny says if you did do the GA route, try the Sea Wind Amphibian, where one can taxi into or out of the water to land.
That sounds awesome. Actually,
it does.
Yeah.
There was a joke that everyone wanted us to do a Carve Air at some point. Somebody made a joke about it, and that became like the thing. I was on a Reddit for a little bit. It was just every time we post anything, was it a Carve Air? Like, no.
Another one here from John. Yeah, John, I think you we were talking about True Glass for a little bit here just before you joined, but John is asking, will True Glass be extended to cabin windows in P3D or only windshields and cockpit windows?
So I suppose from a technical standpoint, you could do it now, because we give you an option in True Glass to control like the radial angle that that the raindrops are going to fall at. Now, although the thing, I'm trying to remember this now because it's been such a long time since I looked at the code. I think technically you could. And because, of course you can. Yeah, because we can have side windows.
Right.
So because it's basically a side cockpit window, right? I mean, it's the same idea. If you've got, the screen around you like this and you got two on the side, it's basically the same thing because it's going to come this way toward you. So you've kind of got the same experience on the cabin windows. You could do it. I just think that the performance impact, especially if you're talking about like every window, you have to map them all to the same one.
Sure.
Which would look a little kind of gimmicky when you've got, was it 37 windows, whatever it is, or 72, whatever it is, that all have the exact same raindrops in the exact same place. It might look a little silly. So that would be one of the limitations. And I think that if you were to push the limit anymore with that, your performance, your cost to benefit is just not great there.
Not great, yeah.
But it is technically possible.
Gotcha.
Cool.
Also, I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I just looked up that Seawind, and that is an awesome looking plane, man. Have you seen it?
Dude, I've got a story about that damn Seawind. I think isn't that the same one?
Crashed?
Dude, the one that crashed like 4 times in 9 days. Dude, that Seawind, we've had it. Someone owns it locally here in SoCal, and then they sold it to someone. That guy had a gear up landing at one of our local airports here. Then they flew it to New Mexico and had another gear up landing. And then they flew it, I think, like a week later and had some sort of forced, and it, sounds weird for a Seawind, but forced water landing where it was like turned upside down though.
Oh, geez.
And the thing is still operating.
What?
Yes.
I mean, it says a lot about the manufacturing, I suppose.
You can look it up,
for
dude.
Sure.
It's insane. I thought it was a joke. It's crazy. Chief, what's going on, man? Thanks for joining.
Like an episode of Air Disasters.
It's Air Disasters times too. Adrian Martinez is here. Hello, good to see you. Welcome. Yeah,
I make no promises, but I am a doer, not a talker. I just dropped that in our Slack channel about the Seawind. I'm going to kind of get an idea for what the team thinks.
Look at that.
Because that's a cool looking plane. I think that's
cool.
awesome. I've never seen that. It's unique. We have a thing about doing unique things. So that'd be a total change of pace. So we might, you know what? And if it does happen, then whoever suggested, I don't remember the username. I'm sorry. But whoever the suggester was here, you'll know.
Who was it?
We
It
started
was
that
Kenny.
discussion here.
Yep.
You heard it here.
We'll get you a copy of it. If we do a Seawind, you get a free copy.
Titanium plane. I know, it's crazy, man. All right, let's see what else is going on. Those of you just joining, we're doing 2 giveaways. I know it says 1, but it's actually 2. The first winner will receive a $20 X-Plane Org Store or Sim Market gift card, their choice. And the second place winner will receive a copy of PAX, courtesy of Colin on the TFDi crew. So just a way to say happy holidays here from the Closed Traffic Podcast, and appreciate all you guys' support through the air. I did have a question as well earlier offline about whether or not we were still podcasting the show, and we absolutely are. All of this is still available to your local podcast outlets, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, all the other podcast stuff that you guys use these days.
Make sure you rate us. Make sure you rate us. Make sure you rate us.
We are still publishing. We'll come on every once in a while with the live show, but every single show will definitely always continue, including the live show, to go to our podcast outlets. So definitely, tune into those. What else on the roadmap, Colin? So that's PAX. Oh, there was another question I missed. I think from Charlie. There was Charlie's got a support question. Actually, go right to the top. Right to the top of the organization.
I'm probably going to send you right back down. But
have you seen or heard issues with smart cars and FSU IPC making 2020 causing CTDs in 2020?
I think I've seen the wind blowing slightly too hard in MSFS crashes. Jokes aside, no, we have I? Yeah, absolutely. Do I know if it's smart cars crashing it? I would say it's unlikely that smart cars is the culprit, simply because it's the same code base. It's been the same code base for almost 10 years. So I think it's unlikely that smart cars is the culprit. Now, could FSU IPC be doing something different? Absolutely. Could it be the sim needing an update or malfunctioning because of an update? Absolutely. Could it be a system issue? Absolutely. Is it possible that on your machine running it is causing it to crash? In that case, yes. But I don't have an easy fix for you outside of, I would say, to start, make sure everything is up to date. Update the sim, update FSU IPC, clear your temp files, do the obvious, things like that to kind of give everything a fresh start and give it a try. Check, system temps and VRAM and all that fun stuff, and kind of just the general stuff. If you really can't get it working, open a ticket with us and we'll do our best, but they're likely going to tell you the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, if it's 2020, it's just finicky right now, man. I told you, I accidentally, like I said, unplug a cable while a flight's going, and it'll CTD. Like, no lie, it's crazy. Let's see. So, what's in the works for VA8 cars, or is that a finished product? And I think we can segue that into
that's perfect.
The other question that we had around, what's next for smart cars in general?
Oh man, so Smart Cars 3 is well underway. We're actually I'm not going to give away the farm with the dev updates yet, but because something we started doing, I'll kind of tell about it here. We switched the way our dev model works, and we kind of break things down in the seasons now. So because we've got all these projects, or these major long-term projects that you're talking about months to years in some cases, and it's hard to manage. Like from a project management standpoint, it makes my life a nightmare trying to plan and track progress on an undefined finish line. So similarly, to coincide with those new seasons, we kind of are aiming to do a dev update at least once a quarter, like a major one that talks about all the current stuff that's on the market or being worked on.
Awesome.
So I'm not going to spoil the surprise because we're only about 2 weeks away, and we do have some fun stuff to talk about.
Cool.
But I will say that Smart Cars 3 in general, it is not an evolution of Smart Cars 2. It is its replacement.
Wow. Okay.
We did something different, and I've talked about this all right. English. Let me start that sentence again. I get a little ahead of myself. We've talked about this prior, so I don't mind going into a little more detail here. So
sure.
Yeah.
We basically, Smart Cars 2 kind of became the mainstay. It was the go-to. It still is for a lot of VAs, and I think it's still a really solid contender, but it's dated. It's certainly dated, and it certainly lacks in some areas that it would benefit from having more work on. So what we did with Smart Cars 3 is we didn't create another program. We created a platform.
Wow.
Smart Cars 3 has a developer SDK that gives you the same level of access to write applications that we have when we're making them. So we're going to ship it with some core plugins. And of course, the features you've come to know and love, the flight booking, the chat, the radio, all that stuff is going to exist. But we're going to then basically open the doorway for a VA to have any level of customization they want. The web script are all documented down to the individual function. We provide all the source for that. The developer API on and we're talking desktop API here, not web stuff. You're going to actually be able to modify the Smart Cars client and ship those modules via our module store to your VA users. So if you're a VA that's like, you know what, we want to do something completely custom that has nothing to do with PHP VMS or any of the web systems. We want to do some totally custom booking dispatch system that uses all proprietary stuff that works for no one but us. You can literally go in, uninstall our flight track or our booking module, install your own, boom, done.
Wow. Johnny, we may have to take the boots back out, man.
Hey man, go ahead, dust them off, bro.
That is take the boots back out.
and of course, on top of that, we've got a lot of feature requests that we had from Smart Cars 2. I have a whole spreadsheet of them that I've exported, and I've made the unfortunate responsibility of one of our developers to sift through my notes in the worst format I think it could have come up with. This tool we exported it from, but we've got a whole list of like 60, I think, something items of just little requests, bugs to fix, little inefficiencies, features that we just didn't think about 8 years ago, whatever it was, when that we started it. So you're going to see those things, of course. Like there's going to be improvements to the workflow. It's not Smart Cars 2 rebranded with an API. It has a ton of new features and functionality. We are doing some stuff with the mobile app that you guys are going to really like, and Smart Cars Premium you're going to really like. We're talking about a level of review of your flights that I don't think I've actually seen anywhere except in the actual airplane.
Wow.
So if that goes the way that we want, we spend a lot of time doing it, really optimizing a lot of these things to take care of some really cool things. Like I'm even thinking maybe being able to do post-dated check rides type granularity. So,
now you're tugging at Johnny's heartstrings, man.
So we're talking about some pretty heavy duty stuff there. We leaned into, there's so many things in the market. There's so many trackers, just like, our thing with not stepping on toes, right? There's Volanta out there. Yeah. There's Project Fly. I know it's changed a little bit, but there's so many ways to just track your flight. We leaned really heavily into what makes Smart Cars a strong platform. And it is its ability to suit the needs of a VA and of a community. You know, at this point, I don't think Project Fly or Volanta or anything like that are really in a position or have the desire to replace ACARs. They can't. And ACARs is a very personal thing to a VA. So rather than become the third flight tracker, we said, okay, let's lean into what we are. We are the strongest contender in the market for VA software in that respect. And we wanted to create something that is going to solve every need that we haven't even imagined yet for VAs. We want 10 years from now. We don't want it to be stale in 10 years. In 10 years, what'll happen is all of the stuff that we wrote will have been replaced more than likely, except for, you know, like the radio player and the chat, probably. Everything else will have been replaced with new stuff that the community can then continue to work on with us, and they won't have to wait for us anymore. You can benefit from what we've already done and then build on top of it, as opposed to just having to wait around for us to accept your feature request.
Wow.
That's so cool.
Man,
that is what it's about in this community, man. That's cutting edge stuff right there.
Absolutely.
I know the guys that worked on this, I give them credit every time it comes up. They broke their backs to make this work right. We months and months of iteration over, you know, I'll save the technical detail, but you know, over, you know, what type of memory model should we use? Is this even possible? What's the most efficient way to do this? So what about this? And then, you know, as executives always do, we get to a meeting and they're like, hey, it works. And I'm like, oh, well, what about this though? And they're like, all right, give us a couple weeks. And I know I've done that to them a couple of times. We'll get to a seemingly close to the finish line, and I'll say, okay, well, cool. What about this plugin though? And there's that silence, and I'm like, oh man. But they have put in a tremendous amount of work. They have basically created something that did. Oh, and it's cross-platform, by the way.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah, I forgot about that little bit. That little tidbit. Right now, it's only on Windows because we are dealing with FSUI PC as our SIM connection. So we are prepared at some point to write our own bridge for Mac and Linux to mitigate that. But at the moment, the cool thing about this and the way that it works is you could install smart cars on another computer and just not install the flight tracking plugin, and it will run on Mac or Linux. So if you want to access your booked flights and all that stuff, or the chat or whatever it is, you still have that. Obviously, the main purpose is to track the flight. So we realize that long term that's not a permanent solution, but the technology itself is cross-platform.
Man, I don't know, man. Mike, we're going to dust out the boots, bro.
Dude, like I said earlier, I haven't flown, you know, for a VA in a long time. And John and I have this conversation all the time because he flies for them, and I'm just like, I don't have the time. This may just naturally create some time.
Somehow, some way.
Somehow.
I know our thing is
cool.
We don't want to say no anymore. That's what within reason. When it comes to the VAs, it's like, hey, can we do this? We want the answer to be yes. And whatever that may be, we want the answer to be yes.
Wow.
Awesome.
Too cool.
And then of course, I'll say the bridge. So the bridge, as far I see the questions came up here. We tried this with PAX. We actually in the beginning didn't use FSUI PC, but it was awful. Like FSUI PC provides a lot of functionality that we take for granted. I think that as users, especially as developers, but as users too, I think. And I wrote my own in the beginning that kind of was attempting to make a unified bridge, because I've worked a little bit with the Explain SDK, not a ton, but enough to at least do some basic data pulling. And good Lord, was that complicated. FSUI PC takes care of like turbulence. You know, the sim has no mechanism of detecting turbulence.
That's through FSUI PC.
FSUI PC provides that. Now I may have missed it potentially, but I did look. The best way that I was able to do a unified, like a centralized way of doing that for both Explain and regular FSUI PC platforms was I was trying to like track the actual, basically the noise in your speed, altitude, pitch bank heading, and all that stuff.
Wow.
And it was rather complicated. I had to develop a whole algorithm for that, and it kind of worked, but it wasn't great. It would have taken us quite a bit of time to do that that way. And there's other little, and it's just so easy. FSUI PC on Windows, if Windows is your goal, there is no reason not to use it. Really, it's been around forever. They've shown that they're going to continue to support it for the foreseeable future. It is really taken for granted. It is worth the $50, whatever it is, to have the paid copy. It is a great tool. But I'm unfortunately in a situation where I'm going to have to create something for those other platforms, but it will not be as robust as FSUI PC. It will not be a Linux version of it. It will be something to suit the need to make sure that the data that you need in smart cards is available, but it will be a much more limited version of it. I can almost promise that. It will not be a full FSUI PC replacement. And we will likely still use FSUI PC on Windows.
Oh, for sure.
Got it.
Wow.
Dave, you've got to enter it in my chat. So those that are trying to enter the giveaway, unfortunately, we didn't set it up in Johnny's channel. So you've got to come over to my chat and throw it in there, exclamation TFDI, and then you can jump back into Johnny's view there.
I just realized there's a second chat. I'm looking at the YouTube chat this whole time. So if I ignored anybody, I'm sorry. I am
no worries. Again, this is the whole StreamYard, platform is new to us. We're trying to figure out how we're going to consolidate this going forward, but that's the best way we're going to do it for now. Let's see here. We'll run the raffle soon. I know it's getting late, especially for those there on the East Coast. I mean, it's only 7:30 Pacific here. Whoop whoop, night's young, but
I roll.
But we'll get to roll that soon. There was one more question regarding PAX. Will you be releasing more cabinet announcements?
Yes.
I saw a few, and I know users have made some on Flight Sim 2, but for some reason all were pulled down.
We had nothing to do with that. Okay. As far as I know, we want people to create content and expand PAX. We have a whole section on our forum for it too, to upload your own custom stuff. So I don't think, if someone's pulling them down, it's not something that I want to be happening. So maybe shoot us an email about that and we can see what's going on there. As far as releasing more voice packs in general, yes. Oh yeah. We are currently working on some internal tools to make the process easier, because each voice pack is like 880 something sounds. So it is ridiculously complicated and time consuming to create a sound pack. Like it took us something like 30 or 40 hours for that one that we have. So as you can imagine, that is tremendously expensive and easy to get wrong. So we're working on some tools internally to make that easier, but we want to do we are going to do a big mega world voice packs update, where we're going to have different accents, different languages. We're going to try to, just like we did with the names, we made the names feel like they belonged in the region that you're flying in. We want to do something similar for voice packs, where, when you're flying from, Beijing to Sydney, you don't have your Midwestern American voice pack, because it kind of feels out of place. We want to try to create that experience that feels at home anywhere in the world, or at least within reason. I can't do every language and accent in the world.
Of course.
That's not going to happen. But we want to get at least, I would hope to think 6 to 8, like the 6 to 8 major different languages. That, whatever the top, most common ones in the aviation space are. And that's a big part of what we're doing there. But it's just taking time to get those tools ready. Given the team that has been working on that, it's a smaller team. We are also working on packs in general. Like I just worked yesterday on some bugs and little features, and we had an update coming. I'd like to get, hopefully maybe into beta here soon before the holidays, just give everybody something new to play with.
For sure.
But yeah, we've got big things on the horizon, and the company as a whole. I know where you talked about the roadmap. I don't want to hold you guys up all night with my roadmap. So
no, you're fine.
I love the roadmap.
The community loves it, man. Community
absolutely
loves what's coming out, what they can look forward to.
I will.
Let's see. Art Rodriguez says Stalker Actual Gamer subscribers were robbed. Art, do this for me. Just go in to on the other chat on my side. You can exclamation TFDI. If you're subscribed to Stalker, you're theoretically subscribed to me, so that's fine. You don't have to subscribe to me to win. You can just exclamation TFDI, and then you could jump back into Stalker's chat, man. We want to be able to make sure everyone can join here. Shaquille Oatmeal, Shaq, man, good to see you. Thanks for joining. We are live here with Colin from TFDi. We're just walking through a whole host of things. We started at the inception. We've gone through kind of the current, and we're wrapping up things here with obviously what's to come and the futuristic roadmap across really all of the platforms for the company there. So I appreciate you guys hanging out tonight. Colin, do you have anything you want to add to the community or for the community? Any tips? I think anything that you all need from us, right? It's always like, hey, we need this from you guys. We need this from the developers.
Hey, it's
what
our
do
job,
you need from us? Yeah, I get it. But, I think we talked about earlier, providing feedback. So that way you guys are able to track that stuff in, real time and be able to try to, better your product. Like, besides that, what else do you need from the community to help make you guys' lives better, which in turn will benefit us as well. So what do you think? What do you got for us?
Well, I know I certainly can't speak for every developer, but I know that a vast majority of us, there's very few of us that do this full time, at least in this industry. We exist, but there aren't that many of us. And I know patience is one of them. Certainly, remember a lot of these people, they have families. They have, I can tell you that nobody that I know got into this industry to become a millionaire. I'm certainly not. And that's not why we do this. So have a little patience with us. And if there's something wrong, the biggest thing I want to know, I want you to tell us. I want you to get in our Discord and flag one of us down. I'm in there. Josh is in there. Our dev team is in there. Our support team is in there. Tell us if you're on the site and you're like, I don't really know if I should buy this. I don't know if I don't feel like it's worth the money. Ask us. We're not going to lie to you. We're not going to try to. We will never make up something to try to get you to buy the product. If you say, hey, can it do this? We're going to tell you no, it can't. We could try to make that happen, maybe, or maybe we might tell you a way to get something close with the way that it works. We'll tell you, but ask,
right?
Because we want to ultimately we do our best to be as present in the community as is possible for us. And at the end of the day, you guys are the ones buying and using this product, not us. We use it too when we fly, obviously, but we're a very small selection of the user base. So we want to know what you think. Tell us if you hate it. Don't flame us on some forum that we're never going to see somewhere. I certainly don't have time to browse every Reddit and every subreddit and post and forum and Facebook in the flight sim community, and neither do our guys. So come to us, tell us directly. We're not going to bite you. Even if you're annoyed about something and you're like, hey, it's really bothered me. I lost a flight, it crashed, whatever. I don't like hearing that stuff. I just, hopefully you can tell from the way we've talked about it. We care deeply that we're creating quality products that people are happy with, that they feel like they got their money's worth out of, and that they think really hit the mark. And all of our stuff, we have done our best to listen to the people that are using it as much as possible. So that's what we want. Tell us if we got it right. Of course, tell us, hey, it looks great. We're happy with that. But if we didn't, tell us.
Awesome. You guys heard it from the top itself. Let them know. The more feedback you provide, the better. There was another message. There was another question. Is the MD-11 is it for the fuel truck? Is it going to pull up on the right side? I guess it feels differently. I have no idea.
I don't want to answer that one because I am coding the computers on the MD-11. That's all I really did.
Okay.
So that's like the ADC, the flight computer, all that stuff. That's me. But the fuel system is Ricardo. I know he has delved a lot deeper into that than I have. So I trust that they'll get it right. And if not, again, during the beta, that's one of those things to tell us. But hey, it's on the wrong side. We will certainly fix something like that if we miss something big. As far as like ground vehicles and stuff, I know we talked about that. We want to have something. We don't want to recreate GSX. GSX has already got a lot of really cool features that make it really immersive. And I'm not going to even attempt to recreate GSX as part of an integrated unit here. But I know we want to try to offer something that way users that you don't have to purchase another piece of software to get the complete experience. So we're gonna try to find that middle ground between, just shipping it bare bones and having enough that it's not competing.
Got it. No, that's fair. That's spot on. Another question here from John. Most airliners are being fitted with CDPLC, CLPDC to make VATSIM experience better. Some are getting more immersed with GSX. Are these things you're looking to have implemented in your aircraft?
Yes. Yeah, I know we already started talking about how to try to get the pallets to load up with either our cargo truck or whatever it is. And I know the GSX came up in that discussion. And same with CPDLC. I think my own team will slap me if I don't do CPDLC. Josh alone will never leave. He'll call me every day and complain until I put it in. So, certain things like that are just kind of becoming standards now. And I think if we really want to make something that feels like it belongs in the price point that we're putting it, we said it'd be under 100, which it is. Our base price as of right now looks like it's going to be $89.99.
Okay.
So if we want to put something in the market that feels like it belongs in that price range, it definitely needs to have some of those features.
Got it. All right. Guys, I'm going to roll the first giveaway here as we round out the evening. This one is going to be for a $20 gift card to either the X-Plane Orc store or what's the other one these days? Sim Market. So I think everyone is in. We will close the entry so far. And let's pick our first winner. Short and final. Are you here?
Drum roll.
Is short and final here? Hopefully they're here. Actually, I think they were on your side.
Short and final,
Johnny. Yeah.
Short and final. Bueller.
He's still here. We'll give him. You know what? Hey, we have an actual countdown now, don't we? Where's that countdown thing?
Doesn't it play the music though?
Oh yeah, it's gonna play the music and mute everyone. So we'll just give it 10, 9, 8. Oh wait, there he goes. There he goes. Awesome. He's like, I'm here.
Gio's waiting with the eye, man. He's just waiting.
Final. Congrats, man. You are the winner here for the either X-Plane Orc Store or Sim Market. Get in either Stalkers or my Discord, and we'll get you hooked up, man. So definitely reach out so you can claim that. So that was that one, and we'll run the next one for a copy of PAX here. But let me see. Do we have any other questions here that we want to talk about? Anything else here in the chat? Sure and Final says, I made it. Thanks. I didn't expect that. Congrats, man. Congrats. We talked about the roadmap. We talked about, and of course, Colin, you guys are going to continue to support, all of the major sims with your products, right?
Yeah. I mean, just like we're kind of doing with FSX reached a point that it isn't a priority anymore. Mm-hmm. And it's simply because there's just other technology has taken over. And I would anticipate that at some point the same will happen to some of these platforms we have now in lieu of new ones. Yeah. But we're always going to do our best to try to reach as many platforms as is reasonably possible. Traditionally, we just, like I said, we don't want to say no, right? It hurts to have a customer walk up to you and be like, hey, can I run it in whatever sim? And we're like, no, I'm sorry. That hurts. We don't like that. So we're going to try to make sure that you're not having to redo your whole sim setup for us.
Okay. No, I think that's spot on. That's fair. County MC says, any plans on bringing the 717 to X-Plane?
I ain't gonna say nothing, but man, that's a really good question.
Man, I've been thinking about that for a long time.
The amount of people that, similarly to the last sentence I just said about saying no, the amount of people that I've unfortunately had to say no to at expos about running it in X-Plane is painful. The current version of it's not going to happen. The current version, there's no way. Because it's it wasn't written in a format that is even remotely compatible with X-Plane. Now, I have tossed around the idea of post MD11, a 717 V2 type thing, with to the same level of fidelity as the MD11. And I would think, I'm not promising that that's going to happen or when, and I'm not promising anything, but I think if we were to see a 717 in X-Plane, it would be in that way. It would be part of a new product that we have extended the support to. But again, just like MSFS has opened a can of worms for us, MSFS at its core shares some things with B3D and FSX. X-Plane does not. So that makes it even more challenging for us to do that. So no, I'm never say never. I would love to be able to make it happen, but there are a lot more things than simply my desire there that we have to consider, unfortunately. So
that's fair. Folks, like 3 questions at the same time. How about for X-Plane 12? Everyone wants it, man. It's a good thing. That 717 is it's a beauty.
I tell you, man, that really hit a much needed area in the market, that particular airplane. Because as we mentioned before, Lord help you, man. You can throw a stick and hit a 737, throw a stick and hear an Airbus, but 717, there's only one out there. If you want to operate 717 in sim period, there's really only one out there that I know of.
I don't know. There's another one besides your product. So. No, in any platform.
I think there's only one in the category that we were competing in. I know we were going for that AAA like study level category. Okay. And I think there's only one that you can sit there and follow the book and fly, and it's ours.
Okay. Gotcha. Cool.
Cool.
Different type of code for X-Plane, so I understand. Yeah. Yep.
Now, again, our host environment that we've created does mitigate a lot of that. So a lot of it's going to depend on what we're able to do with our host. because if we're able to make that into something that is compatible with X-Plane, then it might make it a lot easier because we can just basically kind of, click X-Plane from the drop down and build. And if we can do that, then much easier path.
Absolutely.
We're trying,
man.
Stuff like that.
If you guys do, definitely let us know. I mean, probably half, if not 3/4 of this chat is full of additional, content creators and live streamers and folks that sim hardcore. So you're definitely going to have a market for it. And folks are definitely going to, spread the word and be all over it. If you were able to get that into X-Plane. So definitely keep us posted.
Absolutely.
John says, I love watching people fly older birds, but yeah, I know. I think John and I are kind of in the same category as it relates to like our enjoyment of aircrafts, except I will never probably fly that. I won't say never, but that the Q, man, I can't get with the Q. I don't know. I don't know how you guys do it, man. I just can't.
Just wait until one of the MD-11's engines flames out on you, and that'll make for an interesting stream.
Oh yeah. Johnny knows all about that, man.
Hey,
Johnny's nickname is Check Ride Stalker. Because every stream.
We just got a question about the
Balsa
X.
Let's see.
Oops,
every year. April Fool's Day only. It's the only day of the year I will ever let that be downloaded. You guys, Joshua, he was part of the team that created that. And
cool.
Oh my God. That is such an iconic thing for us. I will never let that die. Yeah, we'll see the Balsa X. I'll have somebody make it for PBR and like redo it someday, just because.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
Wow, that's awesome. Gio, can you implement baby voices in the cabin so I have my FOs in the cockpit with me? Oh my gosh. Wow, Josh, 11 hours?
They put in work on that, man. They did. I was doing something. I forget what it was. But I think I went out to the gym or something. I didn't know they were doing this, and I come home and they're like, "Hey, we have something to show you." I'm like, "What?" And they showed me this thing. I'm like, "This is amazing." I'm like, "This is one day. We did this in one day." Wow. Oh man, no, I love it. That thing. We had fun with that. The pirate language thing in smart cars. We used to translate smart cars into pirate language for April Fool's Day every year.
Wow.
And it was funny in the beginning, but we started getting a lot of pushback as it got more professional and people started to depend on that. I still think it's funny, but I also understand how it can be annoying. So I'm like, yeah, because it's forced. You couldn't opt in. That was the thing about.
I was gonna say, yeah,
you
probably
couldn't
make
opt
it
in or
optional.
out. Gotcha. So I understand why that one wasn't as well received, but we now do the Balsa X thing every year, and there's really not that many people that have it in their account versus the amount of people that could. So I know that number will only get smaller over the years as we grow. So you only get your one day to get the Balsa X.
Brianna says, I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Brianna, I love the Balsa X. That's the only plane I can fly.
The product page for that was legendary. If you get a chance, check it out in April Fool's Day. I do it every year. So
I'm gonna check that out.
Yeah,
that's
sure.
funny. All right, guys, are you all in for a copy of PAX? Make sure you've entered. I'm gonna close the entries here and run entries the last giveaway.
Come one, come all.
3,
I kind of like this Streamlabs or StreamYard thing, man. It pulls all the comments in and everything.
Oh my gosh,
it's pretty cool. I've never used this before.
Yo, that man there, Johnny.
Hey,
that
Google
man there.
Google. Shout out to Google.
Yeah, it's been something that's been kind of on our radar for a while, and we just kept putting it off because again, we've been so busy between the two of us. And one day we said, man, let's just take it for a test run, and this thing really just makes our lives easier. So it's awesome.
Let's
awesome. See who is our winner. John.
Oh
boy.
Ren Evasion.
Yeah.
What's it? 4 a.m. in Ireland, man. Well worth it, man.
Congrats. Hey, I'm glad if you stayed up till 4 a.m. to watch the end of this. I'm glad you got to be part of that one, man. I'm glad you got something. That's commitment.
That's awesome.
Oh man. Too cool.
John's
Congrats,
I know
John.
John's still here. Woohoo! He says, John, I got all your contact. I don't need to reach out. I know I know where and when and how to find you.
Merry Christmas. If you celebrate it, happy birthday.
Awesome.
Exactly.
Merry
I think John's gonna find you, Mike.
Yeah, of course he's gonna find me, man.
Probably texting you right now.
He's got all my stuff. I've got all his stuff. He knows the deal. Oh man, that's awesome, Colin. This has been fantastic. I definitely want to thank you for taking the time. I guess some members of your team was on as well. I didn't realize. I guess Josh is part of your team as well.
He worked with us for a while. Okay. I think Luke was in earlier. He is one of our support guys. We've had some support from the team today.
Got it. So from the Closed Traffic podcast, man, and everyone else here, across the community, we definitely want to thank you guys for, bringing such valuable and essential products to the flight sim community. I don't think any one of us here, would be able to really complete the overall experience of flight simming, especially in the airliner realm, without the products that you guys put out. So thank you for that. Much appreciated.
Absolutely.
The opportunity to get to be on here and talk about these things, and that the fact that you guys feel that way tells us that it's worth it to us. That's awesome that you guys feel that way. And I know I speak for all the team in saying thank you for the support and for the chance to get to be here and be part of this.
Awesome.
Too cool.
Awesome. Thanks for that. Well, this is probably, Johnny, I think our last podcast for the year.
I'm thinking so, man. Since you took like 8 months off, so
I took 8 months off.
Yeah,
I've got some vacation coming up here, so I'll be ghost for the next 2 weeks. But we want to take
need that into your vacation, man.
We do,
man.
You
need that vacation.
It's been crazy. It's been a crazy year across the board. But we want to take the time here from the Closed Traffic podcast to wish you all a happy holidays, safe holidays, first and foremost. Thank you for all your support throughout the year, especially to our Patreons as well. You guys enjoy, stay safe with your family. Again, we're not doing away with our podcasts. All of this stuff will still get published to our podcast outlets. Just every once in a while, we will come on with a live show as well. So definitely stay tuned and continue to consume our media outlets for additional information. Johnny, anything you want to close out to the people?
Man, you totally caught me off guard. I have no idea what to say now. No, just to ring home what Mike said, man, thank you for bringing, especially last year when things were kind of shaky. I mean, people were sending that 717 from here to Albuquerque,
with packs,
with
everything,
man, and all these different products, smart cars. Heck, I even got a little VA action in, we were just confined in the house, and it was just really the little music in the background. Like, who thinks of that? Just little small nuances, man, that really complete the experience. And I think from all of us, man, thank you. Thank you. Sing, Johnny, man. I just, it's all y'all get. It's all y'all get.
I have to give credit to the team that helps me do this. I get the fun of being the figurehead that accepts the thank you for it, but really it's all of us. And I know that if the work that we put in and the products we've made got to be even a small part of helping anybody get through that lockdown and through what we've been through in the last couple of years, I know that means the world to us. So I know I speak for all of us when I say how much we appreciate the support and the opportunity to be where we are.
Indeed.
Cool.
Well, folks, that is going to do it for Colin over at Inverness TFDi. That's going to do it here for us at the Closed Traffic Podcast. You all be well. Johnny, I'm not going to touch any of the technical stuff. You want to roll us out here with your countdown, buddy?
All right, man. Yeah, as we count down again, guys, happy holidays. Take care of yourselves and each other. We'll see it.
We'll see it.